peninsula of South Florida is very flat, with much of the landscape just tens of feet above sea level. Historically a wetland, this region is dependent on rainfall for most of its water. In its natural state, during the May to October wet season, water would spill from lake to lake, spread over wetlands to the south, and slowly flow to Florida Bay. The mild winter climate, beautiful beaches, and diverse recreational activities of South Florida make it a good place to visit and live. From 1970 to 1990, the population here doubled, and it continues to increase. This rapid increase places ever-increasing demands on the region's water resources. Rainfall in South Florida is unpredictable. The region is dependent on wet season rains, which vary widely from year to year and are influenced by hurricanes and other tropical systems. Often viewed as a region of abundant rainfall, South Florida experiences periodic droughts that result in reduced water supplies to cities, farms, and the environment, and an increased potential for wildfires. Hurricanes also are frequent visitors to South Florida. Some portion of the region is affected by at least one named storm every other year, a hurricane every 3 years, and a major hurricane every 6 to 7 years. Efforts to control the flow and supply of water in South Florida date back more than a century. Canals were dredged through fertile land south of Lake Okeechobee to allow for farming. Herbert Hoover Dike, which surrounds Lake Okeechobee for flood protection, was built after hurricanes in 1926 and 1928 devastated the area. In 1948, the federal government authorized the Central and Southern Florida Flood Control Project, which was constructed over the next 20 years. This project consists of 1,800 miles of canals and levees and more than 200 water control structures. The water management system altered water flow, changing the main direction of Lake Okeechobee flow from south through the Everglades to east and west through the St. Lucie and Caloosahatchee estuaries. The new system changed the landscape from a freshwater wetland extending from Lake Okeechobee to Florida Bay to 3 water conservation areas and the Everglades National Park. Lake Okeechobee is a central component of this system. The lake is managed for flood control, water supply, recreation, and wildlife. It provides irrigation for thousands of acres of farmland, backup water supply for millions of residents, and water for the natural systems, including the Everglades. In order to reverse the environmental alterations caused by the changes in water flow, the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan, a partnership between the federal government and the state of Florida, was authorized in 2000. The goal of this plan is to capture fresh water that now flows unused to the ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. Most of this captured water will be devoted to environmental restoration. From October 2006 to August 2008, a record-breaking drought in South Florida depleted water supplies, resulting in environmental, economic, and social harm. Lake Okeechobee reached an historic low water level of 8.82 feet, 2.69 meters, National Geodetic Vertical Datum, on July 2, 2007. Nearly a third of the interior 695 square miles, or 1,800 square kilometer portion of Lake Okeechobee became dry land. Groundwater levels declined, increasing the threat of saltwater intrusion into well fields that are the primary sources of drinking water to coastal urban areas. This drought required a proactive, region-wide response involving specialized teams from the South Florida Water Management District, known hereafter as the District, and governmental agencies working with utilities, residences, and businesses to manage and conserve water. The teams used a water shortage plan written in the 1980s to guide their efforts. The number one district priority was to protect coastal well fields and public water supply. The water shortage plan was developed for this purpose and to assure equitable distribution of limited fresh water. Accordingly, restrictions or the shared adversity affected agriculture, golf courses, nurseries, landscape irrigation, and public water supply. The district's Emergency Operations Center assessed and analyzed current information on surface water, groundwater, public water supplies, agricultural needs, the natural environment, and the weather.